All right, welcome to this reading announcement. I don't really know what to say. I said that I would make a formal announcement about the Wheel of Time, so I guess that's what this is. I don't really know what to call it, so I'm just announcing it. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the what I know about the Wheel of Time, why I'm reading it, some of my concerns. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I don't have a script or anything, so this is just me. So Wheel of Time. I picked up the first two books. I've made an announcement in the community tab that I would be doing this series, but this is the official. So I've got book one here, which is The Eye of the World, and book two, which is The Great Hunt. Um, I'll kind of be picking these up as I go. So the plan is to begin reading The Wheel of Time, one book every other month. So for the month of February 2025, I will be reading book one. Then I'll be taking a month off so that I can, what do you want to call, mood read or shop my shelves, or if I want to read something from the library or, just whatever, I'm leaving it open. So the only books that I have scheduled that I'm like committed to reading are going to be these Wheel of Time books. So book one will be next month, which is just a couple days from now. Then I'll take a month off, and then I'll be reading this in April, and then I'll take a month off, and then I'll read the next book, and so on and so forth. So this is going to be an extended reading plan, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here? Reading project? That's good. Reading project. Because there are, 15 books? 15 books in the series. So this is going to take a while. It's going to take me over 2 years to read all of these, but that gives me a long term plan, something to have on the docket. Now, why the Wheel of Time? Well, let me talk about my concerns about the Wheel of Time going into this and why I'm reading it, what I know about it. So, fantasy is not a genre that I'm really all that comfortable with. It's kind of outside of my comfort zone. The other day I watched a video from Hayden Reed talking about going outside of your comfort zone. He was reading some I don't know what it was, romance novels, right? And he was like, this is really outside of my wheelhouse. This is something I'm not comfortable with. And something I've been trying to do as a reader is to expand and broaden my horizons. And I primarily stick to like historical fiction. In the past I read that was kind of my thing. I like to read that. I like to read nonfiction. I like to read science fiction. um, I recently started delving into westerns about 2 years ago, and I've really enjoyed that. But fantasy is always been something for me that I've really had a hard time getting into, and this is definitely outside of my comfort zone. But when you're talking about fantasy, like I like Lord of the Rings. It's cool. I've read The Hobbit. I've read The Lord of the Rings. I've never read The Silmarillion, but yeah, it just you're talking about fantasy. You're really looking at like Malazan Book of the Fallen or Wheel of Time. Those seem to be the two things that pop up. But a little bit of a personal reason into why the Wheel of Time, like why this one. So my wife, her Aunt Marcia, and her Uncle Eric are readers, okay? And over the past couple of years, when I really got back into reading and I'd talk about what I'm reading and stuff, Marcia would tell me that I needed to read The Wheel of Time. She'd be like, you gotta read The Wheel of Time. And I'd be like, isn't there like 15 books in that series? I mean, like, that's a big commitment. And she told me at least 3 or 4 different times, you got to read The Wheel of Time, read The Wheel of Time. And then, unfortunately, we lost Marcia back in 2023. And I really, I have a lot of respect for her. I really like her. She was a wonderful person. And it's a great loss to the world. It's a great loss. She was a fantastic and wonderful woman. But her telling me I need to read this kind of stuck with me. And then, we went to visit her Uncle Eric, my wife's uncle, who's now a widower, and inevitably the conversation ends up going to books. And he says, "Oh man, you should read The Wheel of Time." And I was all like, so I'm having The Wheel of Time pop up from two people that I really respect. And then I see online, I subscribe to Dylan Morris's channel, and he was reading The Wheel of Time and finished it. And I thought, well, here's another person that's really into The Wheel of Time, just completely jazzed about it. And I thought, you know what? This is the year. This is now. 2025, the time is now. I'm going to do it. So I'm committing to reading all 15 books. Okay? I am intimidated by this. I'm not going to lie. This is a huge commitment. It will be the biggest series that I've ever tackled. I'm not really that big of a fan of series until recently. I've kind of stayed away from them. I really like my stories to be self-contained because it's just very intimidating. And after the debacle that the Stephen King's Dark Tower and the Stephen King project, where I was going to read all of his books from the 1970s and 80s, that project went down disastrously in flames. I am a bit leery about reading these because I feel like I'm putting myself in a similar situation. However, I've learned my mistake from reading The Dark Tower. Like when I read The Dark Tower, I read one book after another, and I went through all 7 books. And I read like the entire Dark Tower, I think in like 2 months. And it was too much. It was overkill. So going into this, I thought, I got to spread these out and not try to do them all in like read them back to back to back to back to back, especially because of what I know. So what I know from the Wheel of Time, I don't know what you guys call yourself. Wheelies? Is that what you are? From the wheelies, okay? The wheelies out there say that there's a point in the Wheel of Time, I think when you get to like book, I don't know, the consensus seems to be like that the first 4 or I think it's the first 5 books. Like the first 5 books, I think are genuinely agreed upon as being like really excellent. But there's like what they call the quote unquote slog that happens somewhere, I don't know, like after book 6, or maybe book 6 is the start of it. I'm not sure, but it's genuinely agreed upon that there's a lull in this series where like you get like the slog. And then the end of the series picks up again and it has a really wonderful conclusion. So knowing that going in, knowing that I'm going to hit quote unquote the slog, I thought I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm hitting these slower paced books where like it doesn't feel like anything's happening, and reading those back to back to back to back to back, because I'm going to end up hating life. So that's why alternate, read one of these 1 month, then like just have it open to whatever I want to read, mood read, and then do the next book the following month. And I think that way it'll help me avoid burnout, and I'll actually end up like finishing the series this way rather than like DNFing it. Because I think a lot of people, when they hit that slog part, they just are like, I'm done, I'm out. Like, this is no longer fun. I'm not enjoying this. It's torture. I've seen a couple of people talk about this. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot about the Wheel of Time. Okay, here's what I know about the Wheel of Time. I know that the like main character's name is Rand. I don't know anything else. I know that these are massive amounts of characters in these, like rivaling like Tolstoy's War and Peace. I know that there are some, what do you call it, like homages to Tolkien. Some people would call them outright, call it outright derivative. I know there's a couple of people that I've seen that DNF'd the books like almost immediately, saying that they thought, oh, it's just like a ripoff of Tolkien and Arthurian legend, and I can't do it. Well, I don't think that people said these are like this sort of Shannara. Is that what it is? Shannana, whatever. Shinobi? I have no idea. but people claiming that those are like really derivative. They're just Lord of the Ring ripoff. So I don't think that's the consensus here. I've heard that this starts very Tolkien-esque, but then it kind of develops its own personality as it goes along. So we'll see. But that's the plan, everybody. And I think Austin at Outer World Media is going to be reading this first book with me. I haven't seen an announcement from him. He put up an announcement like 2 weeks ago saying announcement coming, and here we are at the end of January, and I haven't seen any updates from him. So Austin, are we still on? Because we're starting this. I'm getting ready to start this. So I think you're starting it, Austin, but I know you got a little one on the way. So I understand plans can go up in smoke, but I think Austin is going to read this book. We're going to read it together as a buddy read or a fellowship read or whatever. I don't know what you guys want to call it. I don't mind calling it a buddy read. I guess some people don't like calling it buddy read. But as a fellowship read, we're going to get this Wheel of Time thing going here. And if he hops off of it, I'm committed to it. I've already committed. I'm doing all 15 people. So that'll give you plenty of time. That's another thing about doing this every other month. Okay. Since I'm doing it every other month, if somebody stumbles upon the beginning of this series, they'll be able to catch up relatively easy, right? If I'm doing these every other month and I get like 5 books in and somebody's like, oh, I want to read along with these guys, they just blast through those first 5 books, they'll be able to catch up with us quick. So I'm hoping that we get a wheel fellowship or a bunch of wheelies on board with this, and we can all do this together. And I think that'll be fun, because when I read Dune, I'd Dune it alone, and it would have been a more enjoyable experience if I could have shared it. But duty calls. Here comes my kid. I'll be right down. I'm finishing up. So thanks for watching. That's the plan. God bless and have a wonderful day.